Hey folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com and we'll take a look at them a little bit later. Before I get started here, I just want to say if you regularly watch my content and you're not subscribed yet, please consider doing so today for reasons. More on that in the not too distant future. Okay, let's get into the actual video now. So today we are going to be playing a PainterCast deck list that comes to us from the top 8 of SCG Con New Jersey, which was a 10K. And Chris W wanted to see this deck list in action. This is a unique hybrid combo deck, and I know that everyone loves a hybrid combo deck. Like it's one of those dreams, right? It's like the transformational sideboard where like it's so cool when it actually works. And I'm actually pretty interested in this one. So let's talk about both sides. First, the Thoughtcast, the 8 cast side of the equation, with our Thoughtcasts and Thought Monitors. And the first question I get is, Phil, why isn't it 8 Thoughts? Why is it 8 cast? And to that I say, next question, please. Okay, so we are going to have a lot of artifacts, such as baubles and mox opals and grindstones in this case as well, that we can use to fuel Emry as sort of a pseudo card draw engine with baubles and a way to recur our various mana sources and other important cards. And then as our artifact count goes up, we get better at casting Thoughtcasts and Thought Monitors for not free, but for a highly discounted amount. And we've also shoved the Painter Servant and Grindstone combo into this deck list, which if you're not familiar with it, the short version is Painter's Servant makes everything a color of your choice, and then Grindstone will infinitely mill your opponent out because all of their cards are the same color. We've taken two different decks that want a nice, strong artifact core, and we've mashed them together. Now, ultimately, because both of our decks are on the artifact side, they have synergy together, which is sick. But it also means that the cards like Karn, Collect Roof, and Meltdown that normally would be good against us are probably even better against us. And some of those things that might dodge that normal sort of interaction might end up in our sideboard because we frankly don't have room for them. I do want to highlight two newer cards here. We are playing Haywire Mite, which is really neat. Ignore the fact that we don't really have too many green producing lands. Just remember, like, we're playing a playset of Mox Opals here. So the Haywire Mite is a nice way to exile a non-creature artifact or non-creature enchantment. Remember that card Caldra that maybe is giving everyone some trouble? Yeah, we can get a Caldra out of the way with this. The other one is a neat card, and again, ignore the fact that we're not really playing red sources. Mishra's Research Desk. So, it's 1 mana, which means it's fetchable with Urza Saga, as is Haywire Mite. And you can pay 1 and tap this to sacrifice it, exile the top 2 cards of your library, choose one of them. Until the end of your next turn, you may play that card. And it also has Unearth so that it can come back, which is sort of a neat amount of synergy. A little expensive to unearth it, but it's neat, and I've never seen anyone try this card before. As far as the rest of the sideboard goes, we have Dismember, which I imagine is largely there for Collector Oof specifically, although right now in Legacy answering 5/5s is really important because of White Plume Adventurer plus Forge being a 5/5 creature. I think with that being said, we're going to go ahead and hop directly into some matches here. If you're new here and you like what you see, please consider subscribing. And if you're a regular, please throw me a like before this video begins. It is the single easiest way to support my content for free. Let's battle. Okay, let's think through this here. I can only put 1 artifact into play, so I can't Emry on turn 1. I can play Urza Saga, Ancient Tomb. I can play Urza Saga on turn 1. Turn 2, make an Urza Saga token, and then make an Emry afterwards, or hold Metallic Rebuke up afterwards. I think that means this is a keep. We won't be the best versus Wasteland. And I think since I have a second Mox Opal, I'm comfortable playing out the first one right now. Alright, let's see where this goes. Metallic Rebuke, by the way, has Improvise, which says your artifacts can help you cast a spell. Each artifact you tap pays for 1 mana of it. Ball Therapy resolves. Snow-covered swamp into Cabal Therapy. That's sort of interesting. Appa Cannoneer might be in my name in their position. They're going for Force of Will. So they're doing some unfair things over there. What I can do about that? The answer is probably Metallic Rebuke, right? I don't have Metalcraft for this. I don't think I'm supposed to just play out Island and pass here. It's awkward. Alright, so this is looking like a Storm deck here. Ant doesn't really need Cabal Therapy though, right? Allurin? Maybe Bug Allurin is what we're looking at here. Alright, it's a 2/2. There's a Grindstone. Take 2 more. Now have a 3/3. Soul Guide Lantern is an okay pickup here. Aether Spellbomb is an okay pickup. I think I'm just going to Lantern that Cabal Therapy. Alright, Lantern, take out Therapy. I think put an Island into play. Tap this for an Emry. Oh, cool. I picked up a Thought Monitor, which is a pretty big pickup. I think it's worth Legend Ruling Mox Opal here to hold up Metallic Rebuke. I'll go ahead and do a 1-mana Grindstone. This bashes in for 5 and should clock my opponent pretty quickly, and I have plenty of artifacts left up for Metallic Rebuke. Just gonna be a 2-turn clock. Ponders are fine. Not interested in countering something like that. I mean, that is what it is. That's fine. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 for an Otawara activation. This is actually incredibly good. Let's play Seat. 6. Can I Thought Monitor for 1 mana? Okay, yeah, yep. So I just play Thought Monitor, and then I put any other artifact in play, and it kills my opponent this turn. So I think I am going to operate under the assumption that my opponent is playing Allurin, but I don't necessarily know how I am supposed to sideboard for Allurin. Because, like, I have to worry about the mid-range elements of the deck as well as the combo finish, and the things that are good against one are bad against the other, right? Like, that's kind of one of the upsides of playing something like Allurin. Similarly, my opponent has to worry about getting beaten to death by Urza Saga, and my counterspells, and my Painter Grindstone combo. Research Desk probably goes, because it's like, these other targets are just going to be better. I think I'm going to play another Haywire Mite to exile an Allurin. And I think, despite the fact that Soul Guide Lantern technically did something this game, I think I'm just going to play Pithing Needle over it. I have a Spellbomb that can still bounce an Uro if one manages to get into play. I'm a little less comfortable going in on LED versus a blue deck. I could go out some number of Grindstones for some Canonists or Force of Negation. But I also don't hate just, like, playing a Kappa Cannoneer, telling my opponent to deal with it. I'm going to play a couple Kappa Cannoneers over Thought Monitors, and then I'm just a little unsure about some of this other stuff in the middle here. I think I'm going to play 2 of these and go down 1 Grindstone. Because I effectively have 7 Grindstones in my deck because of Urza Saga. Makes me a little worse at just, like, raw racing my opponent, though. 4 artifacts on turn 1, play Spire of Industry, and Thoughtcast. That's fine. Wow, my opponent's going to 5 cards. See where this ends up at. That resolves. Good luck. I don't think they hit here. They were aggressively going for counterspells last game, so presumably they're going to stay in that fashion. Yep. Yeah. So now they are on a 3-card hand, and I'm about to attempt to do some disgusting things. Play a land, play a bauble, play a more other bauble, worth a life to Thoughtcast. Oh! And we're going. Mox Opal. Lotus Petal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is a 1 mana Thought Monitor on turn 1 after thought casting. I just get to do this? I just get to do this. How is this okay? And I get to reuse these lotus petals, essentially. I have to use one of these to make the blue for Kappa. What the... What? What? Okay, I mean, I guess I see how this deck was in the top 8 of a large constructed event. Oh my god. Today's video is sponsored by moxfield.com, which is obviously a deck building website, but it does a lot more than just that. So for example, it can help you keep track of your collection if you plug in what cards you own, or if you're looking to, say, see what the newest precons look like to decide whether or not you want to buy them or quickly look up the cards, that's available in one of these tabs as well. So consider checking them out. All right, round 2. I have 2 free artifacts, but no lands, so this isn't getting turned on. I'm going to go ahead and ship this one. This is probably good. So 1, 2, 3. Play Grindstone. This hand is going to be a keep. I have 3 initial mana sources. I think I'm just getting rid of my Spell Bomb here. And keeping the Thoughtcast in case something goes wrong. Alright. Otawara, Lotus Petal, Grindstone, Mox Opal. I can put the Painter into play right now if I want, and play around discard. I can also just cast this for 2 mana. I think I'm going to do that. It's a little weird, but it's safer in a lot of worlds. It just gets me to more persistent mana a good portion of the time. I missed out on a second playable artifact and a land in those 2 draws, which is a little bit awkward. That usually shouldn't happen. But I don't just want to, like, play out the Naked Painter into every removal spell known to mankind here, I don't think. I don't know, maybe I'm supposed to slow roll this game and play the Thoughtcast next turn. That may just be me thinking that after, like, missing on a play that has a huge number of hits. Right, so 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. Counting one of those as drawn. Yeah, that's 34 hits, and I missed twice. Okay. Are we in the initiative world? Are we in the... yeah, we're in the initiative world. Okay. This is a punish for not playing out Painter, although just as easily my opponent could have had Source of Plowshare's Solitude touch the Spirit Realm that would have answered the Painter for me playing them out. That's sort of a uniquely bad draw. It is a land. My Painter costs 4 mana, so I need 1 more artifact so that this gets turned on so I can play it and then win the following turn. And now it's, like, so relevant that I missed out on both of these draws. Okay, there's a Cavern on Cleric, so we're going to see a seasoned, or not a seasoned Dungeoneer, a White Plume Adventurer this turn, probably. Yep. That's fine, and I don't think I am interested in milling myself for 2 life in this turn cycle. I'm happy enough just eating this damage here. Then any land or artifact lets me play Painter this turn. Okay. There's an artifact. I'll play a Painter. Everything is blue, which means that I can pitch Mox Opal to Force of Will here. And I don't think I need to redraw with Mishra's Bauble as of right now. What? This Undercity is backwards. What has... Alright, what's going on here? Okay, I'm gonna do one of these awkward things where I, like, hold this up to the camera. This isn't gonna work at all. But, like, this is backward. This isn't what the Undercity looks like. Which is a little confusing. Alright, I'm at 9, and my opponent has conceded. So, sorry, I'm puzzling through this live right now because this is really messing with me. The left side is supposed to be Forge, and then Trap. I can't do this. Then Trap in the room where Lost Well currently is. Then Archives. Then Throne of the Dead 3. And Throne of the Dead 3 is gone? Like, is this an errata that is going live on Magic Online with today's update, or is this Magic Online doing Magic Online things? Well, I've got some research to do in between rounds. Okay. I would like Dismembers. I would like Kappa Cannoneer, I think. I don't think I want Plague Engineer to deal with X1 creatures. I just think that's going to be too much. I don't want this. I don't want this. A lot of the rest of this stuff is going to be reasonable. Kappa Cannoneer is the first thing that I want into the deck. I think I'm keeping Force of Wills and Metallic Rebukes, despite the fact that my opponent has Cavernous Souls. Maybe I don't play Metallic Rebuke. Maybe I play a couple Dismembers when I'm on the draw here. Sorry, I'm just so absolutely rattled by the fact that this is happening right now. Alright. I maybe should be playing more Dismembers. My thoughts are not on my sideboarding right now. My thoughts are what is happening on Magic Online right now. I will be keeping this hand. This hand kills on turn 3. Turn 1, Urza Saga, Bauble. Cycle it. Turn 2, Painter. Turn 3, Grindstone, activate. Things can go wrong, but this theoretically kills very quickly. Cavern on Human and pass. This is fine with me. Bauble. Saga. I think I'm just cracking this immediately. Alright, you're drawing a Seasoned Dungeoneer. That's fine. I just want to give myself a chance at drawing Force of Will, which probably isn't relevant because my opponent has a Cavern of Souls, but they could draw a Cleric that they want to play. Ooh, Lauren is very good. I do, however, just have another Urza Saga, so I can just start walking down that path again. I'll get super punished if my opponent has one of their copies of Caracas, but I think that's okay. Sure, that's fine. This is probably going to be the Seasoned Dungeoneer. Yep. Throne of the Dead 3 is now back. And this is completely different than how this looked in the previous game. Wild. Okay. Always Lotus Petal. I'm going to play Seat and Painter. I don't think I want to play this mid-rangey game versus them. I think this is show me an answer now or you're dead, with the opportunity to change my mind later. Yeah, look, it literally has transformed. Okay. Alright, so I will take some respectable amount of damage here. Opponent draws an Ancient Tomb. Alright. What's the follow-up? You need some sort of hate bear here. Or alternatively Solitude, or Touch the Spirit Realm, or whatever. Like, there's options. Thalia is not going to do it. It may prevent me from doing cool things with backup. Elite Spellbinder is not going to do it. They need a Solitude in their 4 cards now. They have produced a relatively insane amount of power very quickly. Float mana. There's a Grindstone. 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3. I'm just thinking if I want Ancient Tomb for any reason. I think I'm basically always dead if this doesn't resolve. I'm just going to play Seat and go for it. Grindstone, target you. Okay, we've got it. GG's. My opponent has killed themselves by activating their Lauren. Mad respect for that. GG's. Hey, by the way, we're 2-0 and we haven't dropped a game yet. I was so fixated on what is going on with the Undercity that I didn't even talk about that yet. Alright, is this a turn 1 Urza Saga? I can play 2 artifacts. Yeah, let's just lead on an Urza Saga here. Go ahead and play out both of these just on the off chance that I need to Metallic Rebuke something. But we're going to be trying to do an Urza Saga based game plan here. So basically no Wasteland, please. Okay, thanks, bye. Okay, my opponent has made a play. There's a basic swamp into a Chrome Mox. I'm going to let that happen. There are much scarier things that I might need to Metallic Rebuke than a Chrome Mox. Current theory is that my opponent is on a deck that I would enjoy playing. Something in like the Curses, Mono Black Initiative, Douthie, like Helm. Ballpark. A Thoughtseize under there and a Douthy Voidwalker. Is that a thing that I want to stop? Can I just stop that? And then I don't die to a Helm and I don't have to worry about leaving up this mana later. I don't have to worry about losing this to discard either. I am good with that. I do have to actually use this for blue in order to do that. Kind of like a weird Force of Will. I think that's worth my 2 cards, though. Because I just want to buy time to activate this twice and stomp my opponent with some artifacts. Because my opponent is going to have removal, but their removal's not going to be, like, that good. Okay. There's a Dark Ritual under there. Might be about to eat an opposition agent. That's one of those it is what it is situations, but I don't actually think it's all that bad. Okay, there is the opposition agent. My opponent can't make some of the colors of mana that they might want to make to get the most out of this. They can get a Mite, and then they don't have green to activate it. They can get a Spell Bomb, they don't have blue to activate it. Okay, my opponent has finished their search. My opponent chose not to find a card. Okay. Artifact land. I can do this for 1 mana. I do hit a bobble here. I can play that and then attack in for 5. So my opponent may be newer to Legacy, question mark? Oh wait, did they just change how this works? It's supposed to pop it out in its own zone. Okay, never mind. Yeah, so it's not showing my opponent's selection in chat log even. That's interesting. Okay. We are finding all sorts of stuff today. There is a Douthy Voidwalker, so it is possible that I can die to a top-decked Helm now. My opponent is leaving back opposition agent, presumably to block with it. That is acceptable. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 artifacts. So this currently costs 2. If I play this land, this costs 1. Then I can't play an Urza Saga. I don't think an Urza Saga is relevant this game, though. So let's play another Bauble. I'm going to go ahead and attack for 16 here, which my opponent has to chump block. This is fine. Now, I believe I am not going to play out this Emry. My opponent is very deterministically dead next turn. Because, like, one of these as a 6/6 plus a Thought Monitor kills my opponent. I believe that I am just going to take 2 draws towards Force of Will here. Okay, it has to be my opponent's last card, because I get to see what they have as of right now. Cool. So if their last card is a Helm, I can die. There's the Thoughtcast that I know about. There's the Force of Will that I played towards. You know, I honestly really wanted them to have the Helm there after I played towards that. Alright, so we're playing against a mono-black Helm deck list. The Pithing Needle is super important. The Haywire Mite is good. Dismembers are probably playable. Kappa Cannoneer and Force of Negation are things that I can consider. How do I feel about Spell Bomb? Am I realistically going to search up a Spell Bomb? I'm not sure that I am. This is feeling too slow for the matchups that I'm playing. That immediately becomes Pithing Needle. Soul Guide Lantern immediately becomes Haywire Mite number 2. Just want to have more answers to actual factual leyline and a Helm that my opponent plays out that I can't physically answer. Kappa Cannoneer just slaps so hard. I might want to take Spellbomb out, because if my opponent opposition agents me against... No, they're not going to be able to make blue mana. It doesn't matter. Okay. I think I want 2 Kappa Cannoneer over 2 Thought Monitor, and I'm thinking about this. Nice versus Douthy Voidwalker. Okay versus opposition agent, although I don't care about that card too much. I don't know. Maybe I need some... Because of the painter side of the deck, maybe I need some dismembers. I can pretty reasonably get rid of that for 1. I can get rid of the Spell Bomb for this second one. Do I want a third one on the draw? Go down 1 more of those on the draw. This is an unimpressive hand that I'm not sure is a mulligan. It's improved by so many draws, and it has decent interaction. I think after my opponent mulligans, I just keep this. All right, there's a Leyline of the Void. We have a Pithing Needle for Helm that we're hoping to play on turn 1 if our opponent doesn't Thoughtseize us, which they did not. Fantastic. Petal. Petal. Feet. We'll immediately Pithing Needle. Helm of Obedience. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can do a 1-mana Thoughtcast, or I can hold up Metallic Rebuke. I think I'm just going to hold up Metallic Rebuke, and I can Thoughtcast next turn. Alright, my mana got better for Dismember purposes. Pithing Needle is acceptable. Probably goes on Urza Saga. Could go on Emry. I don't think I showed them the Grindstone portion of the deck. Oh no, they've seen my entire deck. Because they opposition agented me. They are going for Saga. A nice draw for me. Go 1-mana Thoughtcast here. Ox Opal is totally reasonable. Otawara is totally reasonable. Let's play out a Grindstone and then hold up these. I don't think I need to put Shadow Spear into play immediately. Cavern of Souls, you say? That's fine. This is telegraphing Opposition Agent. Yep, Opposition Agent is fine. I think I'm going to go to my turn here. There's a new Grindstone. I probably just deal with that for 3 mana. And don't take any life damage here. I might take 2 damage. Just a question of whether or not I'd be willing to give up a Lotus Petal right now. If I have to Metallic Rebuke something. I think I would. Black, black 1. We dismember that. Thank you, Urborg. Gave me 2 life. Another Opposition Agent, sure. Yeah, this is all fine as of right now. And there's another tap land. Bobble's kind of whatever here. I'll play that. I think it's more valuable to bobble myself in this position. I have a Force of Will coming. Do I want to draw that? I can Grindstone myself if I don't want to draw that. I am going to Grindstone myself. Yeah, that's fine. Those can go to exile instead. Missing a Kappa Cannoneer is bad, but like Emry and Force of Will aren't exactly fantastic here. Kind of fishing for a Painter to just combo kill my opponent. Haha, no. That is worth a Metallic Rebuke. I only have to give up 1 Lotus Petal to do that. And I'm perfectly happy taking 3 in combat to this. I'll drop to 17. Let's find like a Thought Monitor or something. Nope, we found another Force of Will. I'll play that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can play that if I need to. Which probably means I'm not doing anything else this turn. This is a little awkward. I will get beaten to death by this 3-2. Wow, okay. Pass turn. I have so many good draws here. My opponent doesn't have to do anything else as of right now. Like, they are winning on board. I just let you take the Force of Will? Yeah, I just let you take the Force of Will. I'm looking for, like, Thought Monitor, Appa, Painter, Thoughtcast, Kappa. Kappa, a whole bunch of artifacts here. Alright, there is a Kappa. Kappa is going to get big, fast. So that's a 6/6. I think I just empty my hand here. Keep this one. That's 7/7. And play out another Grindstone. That's 8/8, which effectively is 9/9 due to Shadow Spear. And we just hope my opponent doesn't have Sudden Edict to just cleanly answer this. If they don't, they die next turn a good portion of the time. That's good. I don't know if that's actually fast enough. They are getting Helm of Obedience despite the fact that I have a Pithing Needle in play on Helm of Obedience. That is a choice. They're a mono black deck. They are probably not taking my Pithing Needle out of the way. I think I take a turn off and kill Karn. It's a little bit of a waste in terms of damage, but now this is unblockable. Swing at Karn. Karn dies, which unlocks all of this other stuff, meaning that I am a-okay to move a Shadow Spear over here, and we'll call it a turn. Now, I will be impressed if my opponent takes this Pithing Needle off the table and then kills me with Helm. Show me you can do it, opponent. Narrator's voice. They could, in fact, not do it. I don't know my opponent's exact sideboard. It's possible that they had an ensnaring bridge they could have fetched to slow down this game. And then at that point, I work on either manually grindstoning them out or assembling my painter combo for a win. That's like another reason why it's probably correct to take out Karn. We are now 3-0 without dropping a match game even. All right. This hand is, I think, a keep. Pretty happy with this. This is a very strong Urza Saga hand. Uh-huh. Play a Chalice on one. Play a Chalice on one. Cool. Wrong number. Opponent is obviously not making a play mistake, right? Like Chalice on one is very much the thing that you do blind. But they have chosen wrong for what I happen to be playing here. I can play Seat and then Thoughtcast if I would like, but I think that's just wrong. I need to get this going. So let's Urza Saga, and let's do a full 2 mana for a Thoughtcast, you know? Tough times and whatnot. I think I leave this in play to pump up the size of my constructs and call it a turn. I'm not going to necessarily have Metallic Rebuke up immediately. Alright, it's on human. A Lotus Petal, we're probably playing against a mono-white initiative deck here. Okay, that is correct. That is an uncounterable Seasoned Dungeoneer. This game is probably going to be determined based on whether or not my opponent has removal spells for my creatures. Alright. So I play out a Seat. Now Mox Opal plus Seat activates Urza Saga. That's really all I can do for right now. Again, I'm going to keep the bubble in play for right now. My opponent gets the first attack here, which is kind of a big deal. I'm probably going to end up with the bigger creatures at the end of the day. Yeah. That's the Chalice number you needed on turn 1, but like there's no way to know that blind. Alright. If Seasoned Dungeoneer finds a card. Thalia? Seems like that goes to graveyard here. Oh, they like it. I'll go to 14. Opponent is passing with 4 mana up. Feels suspicious to me. There's a Thought Monitor. Very nice. New construct. Shadow Spear? Probably just Shadow Spear. New one of these. I can't get this equipped this turn. Unless... Unless... I don't think I want to do that. Facing down 11? Maybe 12? I can also just be holding up Metallic Rebuke, but Solitude is a pitch cast card, so Metallic Rebuke doesn't actually counter that. I think I do go in on this for 1 mana here. Draw those cards. Okay. That's not getting into play because of that. Do I want to equip Shadow Spear by discarding 6 cards from my hand? I don't think so. But let the record show that I was certainly thinking about it. Alright, opponent goes to 7. I take the initiative. I do have 1 basic island. Made my land drop, right? Yeah, I've made my land drop. I believe I don't crack Bobble again, because I want this to be lethal if this is solituded, where this goes down to 8. Alright, so let's see how much I'm taking. There's another Seasoned Dungeoneer. Okay, sure. I take 7. Trap puts me to 2. Yeah, and then my opponent has conceded. We're doing well versus initiative. Okay. So... Mite is reasonable for Chalice. Kappa Cannoneer is Kappa Cannoneer. Dismember is good. I could play Force of Negation on the draw. I don't know that I'm excited about that. So I don't want Soul Guide Lantern. I don't want the Research Desk. I'll probably keep this versus long, grindy control matchups, but we're not playing those right now. My opponent's game where they're on the play is horrifying. I think I keep the LED or go fast. Also just another 0-drop to fuel this side of the deck. I think 2 Thought Monitors become 2 Kappas. I want 2 Dismembers, and I'm still thinking about this stuff. I'm not sure how good Spellbomb is. Spellbomb maybe buys me a turn. Is that enough? Seems like I want to either be comboing my opponent or making Urza Saga tokens, so I could maybe go down on Emry. Emry is such a good turn 1 play. And it's like bait for opposing Solitudes. Maybe Metallic Rebuke is ambitious on the draw. Awkward. So this is a 6-card hand if we ignore the Force of Will. It can remove a Chalice on 0, kind of. I can't get the green mana for this right now. I don't have the other half of this, and this is already a mulligan. I'm going to look at another hand here. I like this much better. I am going to keep this. I think I get rid of the Painter's Servant, though. And assume I pitch Thought Monitor to Force of Will and use Thoughtcast to find another way to do things in this game. It's really awkward if my opponent has a Cavern of Souls hand. Yeah. That is a counterable Thalia. Do I care? I think I care. I don't care that much. Like, this card's not that good, I say as my audience weeps. But I end up in a very awkward position for the remainder of this game if I let that Thalia resolve just in terms of my mana efficiency. Everything is blue for Force of Will purposes. By the way, in between rounds, I heard that cards that modify everything, like Painter, really mess with the Undercity. Okay, great. This is actually exactly what I wanted to happen, because now I get to dismember that White Plume Adventurer and then take the initiative, which is strong for me. That is a Kappa Cannoneer. That will be good in the not-too-distant future. I don't think I get to be greedy here. So I will go to 13, dismember that. Turn 2, I've made my land drop. So I'll crash in, get the basic island out of my deck. Alright, grab island. Made my land drop. I'll call it a turn. All sorts of messed up. There's basic planes. Is my painter dead? Are you going to take the initiative back? What are we working with over there? I don't actually have a lot of life to play with. Chalice on 0 is strong. Gonna make my Thoughtcast worse. Okay, my painter is gone. I still have the initiative, though. Feel like this is not that bad. When my opponent drops another creature, that things start to get a little spooky. Gonna be a Scry 2 from me. Is lost well. Looks like it's functioning properly, it's just displaying wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4. I do not want Force of Will against Cavern here. I want Mox Opal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'll be 2 artifacts in play. No, Chalice on 0. I absolutely do not want that. I can play an Ancient Tomb. I want. I don't think I want. I think this is worth the 2 life. That's Thoughtcast. There's a Bauble. Cannot play that right now. And I am hoping to not have to Force of Will something on my opponent's turn. I will absolutely Force of Will something that lets them take the initiative, but I would really not like to do that. Ew. So if I let that resolve, my opponent blows up my seat, and then I can't actually play this Kappa Cannoneer anyway, and this lets them take the initiative. Sad Force of Will noises. Alright, I will go to Stash. Pick up a treasure token. Emry's great here. I do need to hit something relevant. But this is straight up just another body that can attack my opponent back. That's a Grindstone that I can play from my graveyard. That's worth something. They found another... Yeah, they found another White Plume. That's not great for me. I was hoping to get to Catacombs before they hit. So this kills me in like 2 turns. Maybe 1 turn sometimes. So if I don't block with Emry, my opponent hits me for 5, goes to trap, kills me since I've done myself so much damage. That's unfortunate. Kappa Cannoneer is in exile. Yeah, with a single life point higher, I can play this game differently. I can take the hit for a turn, put a Grindstone into play, and then have a win if I find a Painter. Yeah. It hurts. Dead to touch the Spirit Realm here. Oh, look! Touch the Spirit Realm! Yeah, and then my opponent attacks me for 5, and I am dead. Unseed. Now I get a game where I'm on the play. When I'm on the play, the Metallic Rebukes are more interesting. My Urza Saga hands are more likely to run over my opponent. My combo hands are more likely to work. Maybe 3 Dismembers too many when I'm on the play, and I should just keep one more thing that helps me refuel if things go wrong. I will buy that. The Dismembers are just a lot of life loss. So this Goldfish is pretty quickly. This is turn 1 Urza Saga, Grindstone. Turn 2, Painter. Turn 3, get LED off Urza Saga, try to win. But I'm basically dead to Swords of Plowshare's Solitude, touch the Spirit Realm, and Anointed Peacekeeper as well. I think that's too many things to be dead to just keep this hand, despite the fact that it does have a turn 3 kill. Because if things don't work, I just lose both my lands. So I'm going to try to find a more reasonable and balanced hand. This is probably that, right? So Ancient Tomb, Painter, Lotus Petal, Bauble, Emry on turn 1. This is a keep. I get rid of one of Thoughtcast or Spire of Industry. Cards do very different things. I think I get rid of Thoughtcast and just keep the secondary land since I have Bauble Emry as a thing that I can do already. Alright. Ancient Tomb. Painter Servant. Everything's blue. Bauble. Petal. Blue mana for Emry. Emry, Mills. Nothing interesting, but I have Bauble in there. I think I just take another redraw immediately. I'm going to have a City of Traders. That's fine. And now we just kind of hope that Emry sticks around. Woohoo! My opponent's dead if they don't have a Solitude or Solitude-like effect. That's a pretty okay place to be. Got a land under there, yes. Yep, Petal's fine. Alright, Thalia slows me down. Means that my opponent's not dead this turn. Still dead next turn. So, there's my land drop. 2 mana for Grindstone. 1 mana for a new Bauble is probably my plan. Let's Bauble first. Paying the 1, of course. I think I just take a look immediately. But touch the Spirit Realm, that's very good to know about. My opponent can play that out next turn. I'm still supposed to use my mana to play this Grindstone. So what this does is it kind of forces my opponent into a situation where they have to touch the Spirit Realm, the Painter, and then I still just get to, like, run wild with... That's so good. I mean, this is what I was hoping for in cracking my Bauble with that timing. My opponent has a City of Traders. That is an unknown card, so if they touch the Spirit Realm, it will be on no outs to stop my Grindstone combo, I believe. So that is a touch the Spirit Realm. Oh no, I don't have the 1. Shoot. Yeah. Thalia doing a little bit of work here. Get my hand that I have Force of Will. That's okay. Oh, interesting. I think that's wrong. I think that's very objectively wrong. Because I just have more... Like, Thalia can't attack in because of this 1/3. And Urza Saga gives me more copies of Grindstone. That feels like a pretty big error. My opponent is immediately rewarded. They don't know that. So we're going for redraws here. Let's take a Bauble. Play a Bauble off a Spire. I can play a new Painter Servant, but that doesn't really do me a lot of good. I'm debating whether or not I just want to hold this in play. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This costs 2 mana next turn. Sorry, this costs 5 next turn. And if I hold the Bauble in play, I'm just good. I don't think it's worth the life to play the Painter here. I already have some stuff that I could crack for Bauble. Or sorry, for... I said that wrong. I already have something in hand that I can very comfortably pitch to Force of Will. That is a White Plume Adventurer. That is worthy of a Force of Will. It does cost me some life. more than normal. I'll pitch Painter Servant here. Fine with me. All right, there's the city that I know about. All right, my opponent has another play. A post-combat Seasoned Dungeoneer. Sure. That's very good. I'm at a low-ish life total. My Thought Monitor is now much less good. Do I just want to bobble instead of playing Thought Monitor? Finding one of my 2 Dismembers would be pretty clutch here. I think I do want to do that. Alright, so opponent's next draw is a blank, who looks at a Dismember here. Haywire Mite. So I play that off Ancient Tomb. Can I go for a kill next turn? Yes. There is a Haywire Mite. Let's tap an Emry. Let's get a Lotus Petal. I'm a little choked on mana right now, just in case some sort of taxation thing ends up happening. Is comfortable at any point. I can blow that up, and then I've got Grindstone next turn. All right, seems good. It also gives me 2 more life to work with, and the 2 more life may very well become relevant. Because, ooh, yeah, they are going for a Scry, which is very good, being as they did have a Lotus Petal on top that they were going to draw. Bottom. Another White Plume. This gives my opponent treasure. Then Dungeoneer will crash in for 4 points of damage. Swords to Plowshares is my opponent's top card. It reveals the top card, put it into your hand if it's a land, otherwise put it back on top or into your graveyard. So my opponent's top card is a thing that they very much want, but they are a mono white deck. They probably don't get to just draw cards willy-nilly. End of turn. Target touch the Spirit Realm. I think I pay the life and keep the Lotus Petal for my turn. Gives me 2 life. Exile that. Opponent can untap their Seasoned Dungeoneer, and I will now attempt a Grindstone-based kill. It can't be Solitude, it has to be a Swords to Plowshares, and there's already one on top. I don't think I'm really in the position to play around anything. I have 1, 2, 3 artifacts. Volley attacks is making these a little worse, so I think we're going for it. Are you dead? You are indeed dead. We move on to 4-0, folks. Although we did drop a game that time. Alright, we're playing for the trophy. Land, Grindstone, Mox Opal, or maybe Seat, Mox Opal, LED, Paint. The hand's a keep. The hand's a keep. Let's start there. Seat, LED, Opal. I can just go for a turn 2 kill. I can go for a turn 2 kill while also playing an Emry, right? That just works. It's an annoying enough card that it potentially baits a Force of Will. Nice. Force pitching Baleful Strix. And I'm going to play a Grindstone. And next turn I can play Painter Servant, crack LED, activate Grindstone, and my opponent is dead. There are things that can happen. My opponent can play a discard spell. You know, a Thoughtseize, a Grief, whatever. They can have another counterspell, but if Painter resolves, my opponent is dead. Just full stop. Alright. There is a Bobble. Now, if I don't want to YOLO it, I can play Thoughtcast this turn. And I can maybe still play Painter afterwards if I hit any land drop or a piece of artifact mana. I think I don't YOLO it. I think I play patiently. That's a Metallic Rebuke that I can just hold up. I like this. I will still bobble my opponent, I think. I still have Metalcraft here. One's about to draw a Ponder. Alright, that's fine. I'm proud of my patience. We shall see if it is rewarded or if it gets me killed. I think it's correct to not just jam against a known blue deck. I don't know exactly what my opponent is doing. Like, they could be Doomsday, for example, rather than a control deck. I say that because I feel like this player has played like combo decks like Elves against me in the past. Oh, it's a like Cephalid Breakfast deck. Combo deck confirmed. Do I want to Metallic Rebuke that? Not bad to Metallic Rebuke that just for mana efficiency on my end. This is not a good target, but I just like am light on mana here, and I don't have any immediate redraws. So I'm just gonna like take that 1-for-1. Oh baby. Oh baby, that was so good. Nice. Now I think I YOLO. 1, 2, 3, 4 artifacts in play. I think this is where I YOLO and I play Emry next turn if I miss. Or no, I don't do that if I miss, huh? YOLO. Painter. Ah, haha. It's okay. I'll bring it back with Emry. It is potentially acceptable. Now I can just die here. Nice, I'm not just dying. I'll take 1. And we're chilling. So now I will cast an Emry. It allows me to get back a Painter next turn. 4 artifacts. I can't play this. All right. Mishra's research desk has now hit play. All right, opponent has 2 cards. They can potentially kill me. Ooh. There's a Cephalid Illusionist into hand, which is not good. Don't think I have any outs for that. Yeah, that's super unfortunate. So in case you're not familiar with how this combo works, essentially what happens is my opponent will infinitely target Cephalid Illusionist with Nomads in core. And each time they do that, they mill 3 cards. They're going to do that until they mill to a Thassa's Oracle. And there will be 3 Narcomoebas along the way that they can go and sacrifice. Alright. So my opponent went through combat to see if I had auto-yielded. So now I'm going to un-F6. So I don't think I can cobble together anything with Mishra's research desk here. But I could be wrong. I can Metallic Rebuke when my opponent Dread returns. That's what I can do. I have an out. Oh wait, how many Metallic Rebukes do I have in the main? 2? Fuck, I think it's 2. Alright, so they're now on empty. That's a Cabal Therapy targeting me. That's fine. Aiming the obvious Force of Will. That's 2 Metallic Rebukes. Alright, there's the Dread return. So it's go time. Sacrifice for blue, blue, blue. Sacrifice this. Thought Monitor and an Ancient Tomb. So that is not gonna do that. GG's. Alright, that's unfortunate. We had a really good hand. My opponent just had 1 too many counterspells. Okay. Now know what I am playing against. I'm not too excited about Aether Spellbomb. I'm not excited about this. Haywire Mite can technically answer a Shuko, or like get a Baleful Strix out of the way. I probably keep 1 of those. I don't know that I board more. Lion's Eye Diamond feels awkward here. I don't think I'm going for that against a deck with at least Force of Will and Daze, if not more. Plague Engineer is pretty reasonable. Putting that on whatever Narcomoeba is pretty reasonable. Force of Negation is okay. Ember is okay. Canonist is okay. Problem with Canonist is that my opponent just has like both things in play already. They can just win. Like, for example, if they vial something in, just cast Dread Return as their only spell. Do I want a second Soul Guide Lantern? Probably. So this is probably my things that I'm thinking about, with Pithing Needle also being reasonable. This is a lot of stuff, honestly. Too many to board in, for sure. I think Haywire Mite is not going to make the cut, I think, after all of this. I don't think I need... I don't know. The full 4 Grindstones lets me race. So I think this game is going to get slowed down a lot. I'm going to trim 1 of those, probably. Gets me second Lantern, Pithing Needle, I think double Canonist, and a Dismember? If I'm willing to go deeper on Grindstone, on cutting Grindstones, I can get more interaction beyond this, but I think this is where I want to be at on the play. I could consider cutting Thought Monitor, but like the more pieces of interaction I bring in, the more I want to be able to just play some of that stuff out. I don't know that this is a keep. This is a very clunky hand where it's going to have a low-ish artifact count, but has Force of Will. I can play Seat on turn 1 and Bobble. Turn 2, play Urza Saga. Cast costs 2 less, it costs 3. I can't cast it. I'm still going to keep this. I think it gets improved with any land as a draw, and it gets improved with any 0-cost artifact. It also gets improved by Emry, or a lot of the colorless hate cards that I just put into my deck. This stays in play for Thoughtcast-based reasons. Other Thought Monitor is absolutely not what I'm looking for. That's really awkward, in fact, now. I probably now bobble to try to hit my next land drop. My opponent is about to draw Cabal Therapy. Awkward, because Force of Will is almost certainly their name. Ooh, they're not going for it yet. Good for me. Although this is pretty awkward. So, Petal, Bobble, 3 artifacts in play. That means this costs 2 mana. I think I'm just firing this off immediately and ignoring the Urza Saga. Okay, my opponent is responding. See if they're gonna like Spell Pierce type card. A Brainstorm, sure. I'm mostly just looking to put more artifacts into play and then string these cards into each other. That is conceptually my plan. That is a very large Flusterstorm. Okay to those. Clear the stack. I now keep this in play for my artifact count, and I'll play another Thoughtcast next turn. Ball Therapy is pretty awkward for me here. My opponent can play it and flash it back. Okay, cool. They named Painter, which is something very threatening with the Grindstone in play. I probably have to Force of Will a creature that my opponent plays here. Like, yeah, because I can't let them flash that back and take 2 Thought Monitors, I don't think. Let's Force of Will that, pitching a Thought Monitor. As sad of a play as that is. And then this leaves me in a situation where if they do Cabal Therapy me, they don't get 2 cards. Okay, yeah, they are going to go for a Force. I just imagine this is just immediate Cabal Therapy, take out Thoughtcast. Oh no, that's actually probably scarier for me if they don't do that. That's okay. Urza Saga needles that for combo-based reasons. Yeah. Alright, this is mana. Actually, Soul Guide Lantern might just be better. I can have a Soul Guide Lantern just chill in play. That's probably just better. That's probably just better. I'll put that into play. Take out the Cabal Therapy. 4 artifacts in play. I think just Thoughtcast. Let's do that and try to do multiple things this turn. There is a new Bobble. How much do you cost now? 1 blue. You cost 1 blue. So you would cost a little bit more. I think this is an okay Ancient Tomb time. I didn't actually have to make that decision here in case I draw a blue land or an Urza Saga. That was a mistake. I miscounted. Okay. I am not punished for my mistake, which is good. Is Emry or Thoughtcast? Probably Emry. Alright, cool. And I think I take redraws here. Alright, opponent is fetching. Just immediately swordsing my Emry. That's fine. There is an Illusionist. I have the Soul Guide Lantern to help cover that. But let's draw some extra cards anyway. Oh, Needle is great. Grindstone's okay. See whether my opponent even plays that card out into what I've got going on here. Ooh, another Emry. Fantastic. Let's start here. 2 mana. Attempt Pithing Needle. Name Nomads in Core. The 1 remaining mana to Grindstone. 4 artifacts. Means that Thoughtcast now costs 1 mana. Haven't made a land drop this time. I think that tilts me in the favor of just doing this now. That is beautiful. I will bash in for 2. Now I've got Force of Will backup for something that can remove Pithing Needle. I've got a Soul Guide Lantern in play covering the graveyard. I feel pretty safe. Things can happen. Yeah, the one damage on the backswing here is absolutely acceptable. Other Nomads in Core is fine. Otawara. I believe that's just a land here. Go ahead and play a Shadow Spear. Worth the 2 mana to equip. And we'll immediately get that life back. A decent life swing in my favor. Although, again, I don't really think this game is about the life totals per se. Wizard cycling, sure. Finding the Thassa's Oracle, absolutely. So now that my opponent has the Thassa's Oracle in hand, I'm probably supposed to just counter this so that so that they can't mill themselves out and then just cast the Thassa's Oracle. Yeah. Let's force that. Because otherwise I run into weird Cabal, Therapy, Soul Guide Lantern situations. If I wait. Alright, I'm at 15. Yeah. Play Grindstone. Attack for 3. Opponent's at 8. I can consider junking this. Oh fuck, Nomad's in core is needled. Not for long. I don't know. You bounce. Yeah. That makes sense. Keeps the Teferi around for another turn, shuts off counter spells. Yep, this is fine. I'll take 2. I'm at 16. I assume this very easily costs 1 mana. Yep. Lots of grindstones. Lots of grindstones. I guess let's play out some stuff. Yeah, I guess just put that into play. Don't necessarily have to equip the Shadow Spear right now at the cost of life. But I messed up. I wasn't supposed to force. The Vial is fine. Fairy pluses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just want to attack, kill Teferi, and then hold this up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 mana. Yeah. Alright, love tap on Teferi. Very nice. Call it a turn. Vial can tick up. This is a tense game, but it's not necessarily exciting. Not a lot is happening. I'd manually start grindstoning my opponent, but that seems bad against the Narcomoeba deck. Alright, sorry, I got a random lag burst there. I think I do tap this to do this. And I don't have to use my Lotus Petal later. I recoup the life immediately. Opponent's dead in 2 turns. I've got a Force of Will and a couple different layers of protection. I think I'm okay. Oracle being in hand is a little rough. 2 more in combat. I'm at 13. A new Teferi. We're just going to say no to that. And I'll keep my Lotus Petal here. Alright, good stuff. Nice. Thought Monitor can crash in, and I've got a Counterspell, a Pithing Needle, and a Soul Guide Lantern. Sure. We have reached this portion of the game. That doesn't actually change the clock, though. Like, it does save my opponent a life, but it's still 3 in the air next turn. Is again theoretically lethal. Okay, cool. So this is it, huh? This is for all the marbles and the trophy. I might want a little more interaction on the draw. Although, as we saw there, I was kind of lacking in ways to just kill my opponent. Thing is, every counterspell that I board in makes me worse and worse versus Teferi in particular. Drawing all 3 copies of Grindstone was sort of unfortunate there. Pace of that game makes me want to have Plague Engineer. Like, I can just kill my opponent in a fair way. I could board down 7 cards here. If I board down those 7 cards, I just go like 1, 2, new win condition, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and lean on Urza Saga and chip damage to kill my opponent rather than having a combo that instantly kills them. I don't hate it. I'm unsure whether or not this is correct, because, like, the sooner I end the game, the less time my opponent has to set up multi-turn lines. But let's try to be a little more controlling when I'm on the draw here. This is a great hand if I don't just get turn 2'd. I don't know if I can keep this one, though. I could just turn 1 land Shadow Spear, turn 2 Canonist. I would keep this every day on the play. On the draw, I don't know if it's good enough. I don't think I'm happy with this. Yes. Yes. I don't have a blue card to pair with Force of Will, which means it's probably the card that goes here. This is just going to make a turn 1 Canonist. I'll get rid of Force of Will. Yeah, this is strong. The Canonist is also not literally, but basically one-sided as well, since most of my spells are artifact spells. Alright. Saga. Petal. Petal. Opal. Lantern first as the bait spell. Take out Ponder. Now play the card that actually potentially matters. Canonist. We're in play. This now activates Urza Saga for the rest of the game, while having two kind of static pieces of interaction in play. This is very good. Game's not over, but this is very good. Alright, let's conjure the card that beats me. Energy Flux? Feels like it has to be something like an Energy Flux to beat me from here, at least quickly. Alright. Fire. Crash in for 2. Alright. We're going. We have an end of turn swords? No end of turn swords. Fairy could bounce me here. A prismatic ending, that is acceptable. And let's see what the follow-up is. Probably just a cantrip, right? Yeah. Alright. End of turn. Do the Saga thing. Do the Saga thing again. They're now 5/5s. This is a heck of a clock. I think I just Pithing Needle Nomads in core. Aiming to Fairy's not crazy either. But I think just avoiding the combo kill leaves me in a situation where I probably outgrind it to Fairy pretty easily. Puts my opponent to 10. Right, there's a Brainstorm. Note that if my opponent cannot answer one of these two constructs, my opponent is dead. Alright. Another Brainstorm. Trophy time. That is the 5-0. Hey, we did it. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Now, obviously, scoreboard, like, we 5-0'd. This deck's very good. But just, like, talking about this deck list, I basically love about 74 of the 75 cards that are in here. Mishra's research desk is, like, very interesting. Like, it is a way to get a little bit of extra selection out of an Urza Saga. And, like, if we had been playing, like, against grindy control decks or something like that, I think it's a decent piece of tech. But given the matchups that I saw, I was kind of unhappy with that card. And it was the first thing, along with maybe, like, LED, that I was looking to cut in going towards my post-sideboard games. I very much like the different angles that this deck attacks from. The Painter Grindstone combo is, like, historically very good, and then there's burying my opponent in card advantage with Emry, Thoughtcast, and Thought Monitor also works. The Kappa Cannoneers that were boarded in out of the sideboard did work, as did the various hate cards. I'm a little unsure about some of my in-out numbers for sideboarding, and I think I played against Initiative twice and sideboarded differently in both of the matchups. I was changing a lot of things play-draw throughout the league, which may or may not be correct. But this deck feels great. Like, I am very much not surprised that this deck did disgusting things and ended up in the top 8 of a 10K. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please click the like button on the way out. It helps out a lot, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. See ya!